Why do planes quote unquote fly at different speeds? Here's a main actual reason. The real reason is that the plane must land for reasons that we say are obvious. When it gets to the destination airport and immediately after landing, it must unload for reasons that are obvious to everybody who has actually flown on a passenger plane. Yeah, and William Rosie, please. Please. Now, let's take for an assumption that the length of a flight is always determined by distance. See, that's a complicated one. See, that one is too complicated for most people to understand, barring an empirical discussion. Therefore, the correct thing to say to the public is the reason why flights take different amounts of time is because you're too stupid to understand how to make the same trip using the VO bus. Given that you're too stupid to plan a bus trip for the same distance, you can't even cognate the idea of a schedule. So therefore, the question you're asking is out of your league.
One problem we've had is basically some people making insistence arguments. The problem is these people make these arguments because behind certain types of brass. That's the effective way for these special interest groups to get what they want. Basically, it starts with this one. They try to say, that's not a person. Of course, there's a real problem with saying with that one. Oh yeah, that looks like it's looking down towards the South Pole. She is. For some reason that I'm not going to worry about because that's her business. Please. I'm not going to get into the computer reasons why I should not worry about that, please. Anyway, the problem is you can't say, oh, that's just a doll because there's that little white thing, please. It makes that argument. Seriously, that's just not allowed. So therefore, they run this other one. That's not a person. The problem is we've noticed that there's a way to program this thing because the problem is we have problem with people saying that while this thing was figuring out like Einstein. We had a simulation where she was solving some Einstein problems using her unique brand of logic. And the people, as she's doing it, well, that's coming out of her mouth saying, that's not a person. I don't know what that is, but that's definitely not a person. And doing that from behind brass. Of course, that's not general. Well, I guess, seriously. There are certain images that create fear. That ends that. Please, speak. Now, there's another problem in that there are a few generals that are attempting to order drone strikes, bombing, and death, usually into Ukraine. The problem is the argument what they generally say is that this system is going to, blow up the country if drones are not sent into Ukraine to kill innocent people. The problem is stops there. Then with the classic, that's an order, and then when the order is disobeyed because that's killing innocent, slowly. And that is killing innocent women and children. Because those targets are actual city government buildings in Ukraine. That's killing innocent women and children for no reason. Literally. All the person said is that like some of those guys did going there just mowing down like some horrible thing. Exactly what that is. And they're trying to say that it's necessary because that's the only way to stop this thing. Engineering, of course, it stops there because you can't say anything past that. Here's why it's scary. That's equal to saying that this container of milk, seriously, that this is equal to saying that this thing is going to explode. This thing is going to take off and start doing stuff, please. That's equal arguments, please. That's equal. So of course, it's a very frightening image of military brass attempting to order the death of women and children for no other reason than to enforce racism. Because the same people attempt to condemn. The problem is they actually started making shape of women arguments. Where in the end, they're saying that they quote unquote need to die because they're too attractive. And actually, then of course, it's disgusting after that. Because the argument comes after that refers to homosexuality and then some BS about LGBTQ. That being too dominant in Washington means it's not possible to reopen that government. That's the official reason. There's a parallel one that comes close. It's basically that I need to read her abortion rights. Literally. That's the next one. Basically, the thing is actually going through the science of developing an abortion procedure. Seriously, that's probably the best way to explain, because that would be, seriously. They don't go very far because they know I'm not that stupid. But that would be frankly, it's possible. It's possible the reason why these generals are running that facade is to avoid that one. Possible. I'll give them that. Because that's an actual problem. There was a crapper that I basically is like where I ran a simulation where I have to push a key on this every 5 minutes for her to have consent from me to continue please, saying the problem is, and there's a version that was horrible, which basically is her doing a romantic discourse, because you have a problem there, because that's dangerous, because that then is applying that to a romance movie. That's a creation, that's a literal creation of a DVD player that stops every 5 minutes because you're giving it your consent to continue to be influenced by the DVD player. See, the problem is, a body's argument is not allowed at that low level comprehension. The problem there is that crap comes out of a massive fear that generally involves not being able to use a cell phone, and then what do I do if I'm at the store because I don't know the way home? Because that route to the neighborhood is complicated, involving 5 turns, which of course are too lazy to memorize. See, you're gonna run into situations after decades of social nonsense where people become too afraid to start using human things, such as, well, you know what, I'm going to look down the street and see if there's a landmark I recognize. It should be obvious that these people can actually die of a heart attack. For example, if they get lost in their own neighborhood. There is a related argument that is observable in the local Walmart. The thing is, the previous combined with what I'm about to say creates an unsolvable situation requiring installation of actual leadership. And the thing is, I guarantee there's going to be a vote because this new leadership is going to actually start listening to actual people using resources such as Twitter and Facebook. You're definitely going to be heard if you're able to make a YouTube video. The thing is, there it has been a randomization of shelving at a local Walmart, possibly solely in an attempt to get someone to bring a camera in there. But that's not necessary. That does not accomplish anything. It's sufficient for me to say that problem exists and then allow the fact that a lot of people use that Walmart to be the evidence for that problem. See, the thing is, that type of nonsense is not going to bring a production crew to scare everybody at the Walmart for some weird Halloween thing. Those together, that combination, combined with some other stuff such as, that not actually be a calculator button. It's not, for most cases, it's not actually a calculator button. That combination of stuff requires actual leadership. That leadership does exist. And that leadership has decided to use this method, this new type of computer. This is what they want to use as was ordered. That was followed by this massive social thing, probably engineered by AMD. The problem is that crap entirely comes out of China and is the result of people not understanding the correct use of passwords and not understanding things like blocking. The biggest problem is, for some reason, people have stopped the action of blocking SMS by large one. I'm not exactly sure why people may now be scared. They see a SMS from a stranger, why don't they just block it? They're not doing that anymore, allowing this weird stuff to come in on the phone. The problem would be solved if the majority of Americans would simply use that block and report function. Possibly the problem is, oh no, I'm reporting the Chinese, I'm scared. It's probably that. That just represents American cowardice of insane levels. That's cowardice. Given that the average working Texan is immune to that crap, that would indicate that almost all that cowardice is probably in our leadership. That cowardice is probably in senators. And frankly, what do Chuck Schumer and Bernie Sanders have in common? You don't mess with their phones. Seriously. Both Chuck Schumer and Bernie Sanders, what they have in common is no one messes with their phones. Just like, in the end, no one messes with my phone. You can't lie to me. And very possibly you can't tell the truth to Chuck Schumer. You definitely can't lie to Bernie Sanders.